Welcome back, everyone. Good evening. This is Donna Sharp with Holistic Wellbeing. I am your transformation and wellness life coach. And I'm so delighted to be here this evening because I started on a series that is involving conversation regarding how to create strong families. And I'm particularly speaking from a book by Stephen Covey, and that's actually the title of it. It's Three Steps to a Strong Family. So if you're interested in referencing any of the information, I wanted to make sure you at least had the title and the author so that you can just do some work on your own. However, I'm excited about what I'm speaking about this evening. As a summary, if you didn't get a chance to see the previous lives that I've done, I'm going to encourage you to go back and take a look at the previous lives so that you can see the flow of where I'm going with this entire conversation as it relates to the book. We spoke about three whys, and I explained to you guys what the whys meant and why they were important. A lot of times when we set action plans and things in our life is to make sure that we first identify what the why is, because the why is really what propels us to move forward in any action that we're trying to take. So we talked about the three whys, and I spoke about the three don'ts, right? And after speaking about the three don'ts, I started to speak on layering the foundation on as far as establishing a family legal system. Now, it sounds a little bit more intense, other than what it really is, and you'll understand why after I speak on it tonight. So, yesterday I spoke on the objectives of creating the family law structure, the fact that it has consequences, and it also allows for better decision making by children. So, what I'm going to speak on tonight is actually the first part of the triangle. I explained how the triangle is broken down. At the very top is family laws. And you'll understand what I mean when I begin to speak on it, right? So first, let me tell you that when you're creating any of these structures for your family, you have to make sure it's fun. Try to make sure it's not so rigid where everyone in the family is looking at each other and going, what in the name of Jesus is my parents doing right now, right? So it has to be some kind of fun, because if it's not fun, then what's the purpose of doing it, right? Now, you can still establish fun, allow it to be fun, but yet get your message across. You don't necessarily have to be so rigid where everyone's uncomfortable and they're uptight, they don't know what's coming next. Guess what? That doesn't foster good learning, right? So create it to be fun. And what you do is you discuss the topics and concerns. Also speak about regular customs that you normally have, because what that does, it starts to bring things to the surface so you all are on the same page as it relates to conversation that you'll be having going forward, right? So allow the chart of activities to move you in the direction as to where it is that you're trying to go, right? Just make it clear, make it simple, make it fun. As a remembrance, the chart that you're getting ready to create, it will allow family treasures. Hi, Narita. How are you? Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome, welcome. So by creating this chart, right, of activities that you're going to do as a family structure, now what you're doing is you're allowing those, remember I spoke about the memorabilia and the keepsakes. Now after you create this chart, it will serve as a remembrance and something for your family to treasure. So then, as your children are growing up and you're establishing those family laws, it doesn't seem like, oh my goodness, we did this thing. Remember, brother, you're talking to your brother, you're speaking to your brother or sister when they get older, and you're looking at each other and you're saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe that my parents were just so tough on us and they did this and they did that, right? It's left with a more relaxed environment, but you're getting the message across, right? So a story of a family law started. This was a family discussion, and what they did was, and this was discussed in the book, they were creating this as a democratic environment, right? And that should not have been how it was supposed to take place. So there was a family in the book. They started to develop structures and they made it like this rigid thing, okay? They were seeking the children's opinion on what they should do. So basically what happened is, first of all, let me say that families are not democracies, right? And as you know, there is no, this is me and that's you, because you know you're not going to get anything accomplished that way. Your children and yourself, I say this time and time again, You guys are not on the same level. A lot of parenting are parenting as though their children are their friends. Your children are not your friends, all right? And don't get into the mode where you're thinking, oh my goodness, if I don't become their friends, they're not going to love me anymore. They're not going to talk to me. Forget all of that nonsense. You're the parent, they're the child, okay? And I say that with much kindness, and you'll see why. So the conversation between parents and kids should never be disregarded as, listen, let's just get comfortable here, because guess what? You're going to stretch the boundaries from where you wanted them set between you and your children, and you're not going to get the respect that you so desire as a parent. This also creates damage for families, right? It creates ongoing damages because the child does not get the equal opportunity chance of being raised the way they're supposed to be raised, with a lot of love, but at the same time giving them room to make their own decision. Remember, we spoke several days ago about allowing the child to have their own independence and being creative. You know, you don't want to take that away from them, because that's what's going to shape and mold who they are, right? So parents are in charge of their children, and they are there to be good stewards towards their children. What children need, let me just explain that to you. They need guidelines, right? And that's the purpose of developing this family law. They need guidelines, and they need limits from their parents. So many children today are growing up with no kind of limits, no kind of boundaries. They do whatever they want. And it's just funny to me, because when I look back and I see how the parents is responding, then I say, wow, why is the parent upset? They didn't really set the guidelines from the beginning. And like I always tell you, the saying that we have in Jamaica is, if you don't bend a tree from when it's young, you're in trouble when you get older, right? It just basically means that you have to curb that tree, mold that tree the right way. So by the time it grows up, you actually have some understanding that you had something to do with the growth of that tree, right? So definitely keep that in mind. Set guidelines, limits from your parents. It's okay for your children to have input in those limits, okay? So you're not being so rigid, as the story that I told a couple of days ago. You're not being so rigid. And then what this does is it limits and it helps you to receive assists them in receiving explanation, because they need clarity. When they don't understand, they're going to seek for clarity. And you want to make sure you're able to explain those things to them. You never want to say, you're going to do that because I said so. That's not the proper form of parenting, my friends. Children will one day grow up to be parents of their own. So, but understand, and they're going to be responsible for their own children. But at some point, they need to understand that while you're going through this process, they need to respect exactly who you are. This should be it should be from a place of listening, a place of caring, also an explanation, because they need clarity. I told you, when they're 18, I see parents kicking their children out. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till they leave my house. I never heard about that in the island. Never. All right, your child should be there as long as you're able to mold them. I'm not saying they stay there till they're 99, but by golly, when they're 18, they're not mature enough to make certain decisions on their own. You think so, but they're not. And I get it. You want them to go out and experience it for themselves so that they can see how the world is. And okay, I understand all of that. But guess what? If you didn't have any input in the process of grooming your child, hi Willie, welcome. If you didn't have any say so, any parts in the grooming of your child, you can't expect that when you kick them out at the age of 18, they're going to arbitrarily just get everything. And I will say time and time again, as adults, we sometimes don't understand certain things. So what makes you think that we're going to allow these children we're just going to kick them out at the age of 18 and say, all right, you should know everything? No. Because again, I will go back to telling you that the frontal lobe in the brain does not develop until the age of 25. So be very patient with them, right? So the result should be creating a very compassionate kingdom with your child, a benevolent kingdom with them, right? A very kind area for them to mold and learn who they are and become the person that they are. So when they do become adults, they'll feel that sense of assurance that, man, when I was growing up, I was living in a strict household, but at the same time, you know, we had standards in place. There was boundaries in place. They allowed me a chance to still learn, although they were strict. You want your children to be able to say that when they get older. Because when they grow older, they're going to say one of two things. Either going to say, They're going to say you let them run the fields wild, or they're going to say, you know what, my parents were kind of strict and I tried to do this, but they didn't let me do that. All right, so they're going to have something to say, and that's going to be based on the direction that you gave them as a parent, right? So it is tremendously valuable and important to do this. Involve children in thinking about the rules and laws. As I mentioned, in developing these family laws, it is important that they have a say in the laws and things that you set up. All right, and remember I told you that there's different dynamics of different family. Some family right now have children that are under the age of, let's say, 15, and you have some family that have adult children. So when you're setting the family laws, no two families are alike. So you're going to have different guidelines for different families. And for many other reasons, because you have different personalities of the parents, and you have different personalities of the children. There's all different types of creativity. So everything is going to be completely different. No two family are alike. So the better approach for you is to create a consultation process. I'm not saying you're going to sit there and bargain with them. If something makes sense to you, you want to make sure that you're all on the same page, but you're at least giving them an opportunity to voice their opinion and their suggestions, so you can take it into account when you're creating these family laws, right? So let me read the story, because Stephen Covey has a story after every, let me just see if the story is now. Yes. All right, so I'm going to read you the story. Stay with me on this. He has a little story, because what it does, it ties in exactly what I'm speaking about, so it makes a little bit sense, right? So it says, I remember making up family laws as a 4-year-old. I remember mom and dad sitting down with Shawnee and me and explaining the ideas of laws, and then asking us to make up the laws. We thought of some great stuff, from never hit little girls to don't ruin things that aren't for ruining. Mom and dad wrote down all the laws we thought of, and Shawnee and I chose to color the whole paper green with crayons. The list was framed and posted. I like that green frame list. Those were our own laws, not just mom and dad's. I remember going through those laws and talking together about what should be logically done and functionally, and the functional punishments for breaking the laws, and then later deciding together to sort all of these laws into 5 basic, more memorable laws. There were our family laws. Together, we made them up. Together, we tried to keep them. It's so much more pleasant to keep your own laws than it is to keep someone else's laws. Hey, I can't say I always kept those laws, but I believed in them and liked them, and they became principles to me. Not just rules that must be kept in order to avoid punishment. I still keep those laws. So as I mentioned, hi Al, how you doing, young lady? Nice to see you. So as I mentioned, when you set these family laws, you're allowing your children to have an input, to have a say. You're making them feel comfortable and wanted. You're not in a dictatorship mode and telling them, you do this because I said so. There's no way for you to create those strong family backgrounds, right? So you're giving them their input and allowing them to a little leeway in establishing those rules and regulations. So here's some things to keep in mind. The one thing that's going to be important is when setting up these rules, it has to be very simple, all right? You don't want to make it very complex. If you make it complex, then chances of you keeping those laws with your children is going to be slim to none, right? So simplicity is best. Limit it to 5 or less, because remember, you have different ages of children, and if it's a young children that you have, they're not going to be able to retain this. So 5 or less, and then make them also into one-word answer. And I'm going to give you an example. Here are the laws that they set up. Well, this is the story with Shawnee. So they set up 5 of them here, and I'm going to explain what they are. They were one-word laws. So peace, that was defined in 2 simple ways. Don't fight. And the second one was don't lose your temper or yell. The second one was asking. So don't go somewhere or do something outside the normal schedule without asking and getting permission. So do you see how we're getting the whole family engaged? No one's assuming something is happening because everyone's engaged and they're on the same page. The third one is order. Take care of your things, put away your clothes, and don't leave messes for others to clean up. Also, do things in the right order. Make your bed and brush your teeth before you leave for school. Do your homework before you watch television. Get in bed. Get in bed by bedtime and be in by your curfew. And you guys know that we all have a curfew here tonight in Hillsborough County. If your phone was not screaming, you were supposed to be in the house by 9 o'clock tonight, just in case you didn't know that. Number 4 is respect. Be polite, particularly to your parents. Also respect other people's rights, their views, property, and respect their environment. Now we're talking about young children that we're setting up these laws, these family laws for. But can you see how these laws also ties into an adult environment? When I say family, making a stronger family, I'm speaking particularly on children, but it's associated with the family as a whole, right? So, and then the last one is obedience. Mind your parents. You may ask why. They will try to tell you, but then do it. All right. So, though I wanted to share those laws that they set up. These were younger children that set these laws up, but as you can see here, when you create that structure, then there's no deviation from anything because now everyone will be on the same page, right? So that's what I wanted to speak with you on tonight. I wanted to just give you a summary now. Why laws? Why family laws? Here's the reason. Talk about laws of natures, laws of the land, laws of school, and so on. And those things are set in place for a reason. If there was no laws in this country, there were no rules anywhere, then people would just haphazardly do whatever they want. And that would make it kind of dangerous, right? So what happens when people break the laws? Someone gets hurt or taken advantage of, then you're going against what it is that they're asking you to do. So it causes friction and it causes problems, right? So what are some laws that would make your family safer, happier, calmer, better, organized? It's by creating some of the structures that those children just spoke about. When you have those things in place, then there's no question as far as who needs to do what, at what time, and then everything flows in a nice, orderly fashion. So the whole household is on the same page, right? So I wanted to share that with you tonight about creating family laws and structure because basically what this helps to do is keep organization as a family. And when you're all on the same page, it really does help. The laws pretty much, whenever the opportunity arises, always reminding the children that they are still in the discussion stages of the process and that there will be another meeting to talk about consequences, rewards, and penalties. But the whole idea is that you just have something to begin with created and put in place, right? So here's a summary for all of this for family laws. We heard a touching story about a single mother in a difficult situation who made rather gallant effort to get our earlier book, Teaching Your Children Values and Applying It. She was out of work and on welfare and had only $20 worth of food. She went to the market, bought a lemon, and with her change, bought the book. Then she went home, sat on her bed with her 3 children, read aloud the part about family laws, and asked the kids if they would help her if she tried harder to be a better mom. The kids felt more trusted and more loved and said that they would try. In that family, the discussion process alone was the beginning of a new start. So there you have it. So that's just a great way to end that section. So what I'm going to be doing is speaking tomorrow on the consequences. So when there aren't any kind of laws set in place, what happens after that? Where does this all go? So I'll talk more to that tomorrow when I speak on consequences from this book. But if you had not been following me, I'm going to encourage you to go back the previous lives because this is a continuation of this particular topic from creating strong families. And if you're missing parts of it, it may not make some sense. All right. So if you'd like to learn more about what I do, I was just excited to speak on that because It's just so nice when you see when a structure is put in place and you have guidelines, but you're allowing people to be free, how much better everyone will feel. They'll feel loved and appreciated and not brutalized, right? That's the whole purpose of this. So if you'd like to learn more about me, log on to my website, which is holisticwellbeing.com. That's spelled with a W. So it's WHOLELISTIC, wellbeing.com. And there you'll find out why I'm so passionate about what I do. In the meantime, please share this live with a family member or friend, especially those that you feel are having some challenges with their children or just creating a family structure altogether. And then just allow them to take away whatever they need to from it, because everyone doesn't learn at the same pace and everyone does not necessarily need a particular training at a particular time. So you never know what benefit it may serve for them. All right. But outside of that, if you love what you saw, just hit the love button there. And by all means, feel free to comment, because I like the interaction after the live has completed. And if you've logged on later on, type replay to let me know that you've actually watched the entire video, not just the first part of it. All right. So thank you guys all for joining. Diane Thomas, thank you so much for joining. Al, it's a pleasure to see you, my dear. We have a curfew here in Florida. Willie, thank you so much for joining. Wanda, thank you so much for joining as always. Norita, great to see you. And outside of that, I do pray that you had a fantastic day today, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you guys again tomorrow. Until then, have a fantastic evening. Ciao.